On today's episode of You Asked, Panasonic Mini LED or LG QLED TV? What's the best Sony OLED that won't cost you as much as the A95L? And with such good sound and picture quality from the latest TVs and speakers, how much more can they even improve? Welcome back to the channel, everyone. This is You Asked, the show where we answer your tech questions. If you've got something you want to know, send your question to youasked@digitaltrends.com. And don't forget to tune in every Sunday at 7:45 a.m. Pacific to see if your question has been selected for the show. Also, go Tigers. Shout out to your 2025 College World Series champions. With that out of the way, our first question comes from Steve Beatty, who says, I've been trying to decide between the 85-inch Panasonic W95A and 86-inch LG QLED 80T. I found them both for the same price. Which would be best for my money, or do you know of something better in the same size and price? Thanks for sending in the question, Steve. We've also noticed that the Panasonic W95A has been seriously discounted lately. It's easily one of the best deals available right now, especially considering it was one of the best mini LED TVs of 2024. And that is where my answer begins. The W95A has mini LED backlighting, which is a notable upgrade over the QLED 80T's edge-lit capabilities. With the Panasonic, you'll see much better contrast and local dimming. This is particularly true when viewing HDR content, where your highlights will really pop and stand out. In terms of viewing popular shows and movies, the QLED 80T is also lacking HDR10+ and Dolby Vision, so you won't be getting the best out of many of the shows and movies available to stream. And overall, it's not nearly as bright as the W95A, and again, not that brightness is the end-all be-all, but for viewing in daylight or brighter rooms, and for some of the reasons I just mentioned, you're going to want that extra juice sometimes. As far as other options for that price and size, the W95A is going to be pretty tough to beat. In our review last year, we tested it alongside Sony's BRAVIA 7, so check that video out if you want further details, but that BRAVIA 7 does cost a bit more than the Panasonic right now. Even comparable options from Hisense and TCL are currently priced higher than the W95A. So I'd go for the Panasonic and don't look back. Speaking of Sony, RickRam33 asks, is there a Sony OLED recommendation? Preferably 65 inches. I love the A95L, but need something less than that price-wise. Appreciate the question, and for the better in this situation, Sony's TV lineup makes this an easier one to answer if you're set on that brand. The BRAVIA 8, the 2024 model, is probably your best bet. Unlike brands that offer 3 or 4 different levels of OLED TVs, Sony keeps their offerings pretty simple. And currently you have the BRAVIA 8 Mark II, sitting as their latest and greatest QD-OLED TV, the A95L, their QD-OLED from 2023, which is still highly competitive with a lot of 2025 offerings across the board, and the BRAVIA 8 Mark I WRGB OLED TV. Right now, that BRAVIA 8 Mark I is going for about $1,200 less than the A95L at the 65-inch size, and that's a pretty good deal. While you do miss out on the advantages of QD-OLED in the color and brightness department, it's still OLED, and with Sony's picture processing, it's still gorgeous. Plus, the discounted price makes it a lot easier to stomach those differences. Compared to the A95L, you're getting the same inputs, 2 HDMI 2.1 and 2 HDMI 2.0, the same game mode features and refresh rates, the same supported HDR formats like HDR10 and Dolby Vision, and overall, when you're watching the BRAVIA 8 Mark I just don't think you're going to be disappointed, at all. Keep in mind, reviewers bring up a lot of the differences between these TVs because it's their job. But as a viewer, these differences aren't nearly as magnified, especially if you're not watching these TVs side by side. Now, all that said, I will quickly throw out a few more options outside of the Sony family that sit just below and just above the BRAVIA 8 Mark I price-wise. The LG C4 from 2024 is on sale for a bit less than the BRAVIA 8, about $400 I think, and offers a little more brightness and 4 HDMI 2.1 ports. If any of those factors have your attention, maybe consider the C4 as well. Meanwhile, the LG G4 is a few $100s more than the BRAVIA 8, but still less than the A95L, and objectively, it's a superior TV in terms of brightness and color with its MLA panel. Both the C4 and G4 support faster refresh rates in game mode and both support Dolby Vision viewing, just like the Sony models. There's also Samsung's OLED models, which feels like an entirely different rabbit hole to go down, but we did do a buying guide on that recently if interested. I just feel like since you asked about Sony, you have your reasons. So do with all of that what you will, but if you're set on Sony, I love the BRAVIA 8 Mark I for you. Finally, to one that I really enjoyed this week, it comes from Lily Harriet 353, who says, have we gotten to a point where picture and sound quality surpasses the ability of human eyes and ears to take in? And if so, why try to improve anymore? What's funny is, I think about this quite often myself. Don't get me wrong, I love seeing new TVs and technology in general, but when you see as many good TVs as we do, you start to realize, yeah, this one looks great. Oh, so does this one. Wow, I love how this one looks too. So you do have to ask the question, what is there left to achieve? In my opinion, the answer to that is twofold. One side is technological, the other is about convenience. Starting with technology, think about it like this. In terms of mainstream affordable TVs, I'd say that the current bar for best looking is set at OLED. So when we look at what's left to achieve, we're seeing a race between QD-OLED options from Sony and Samsung and the colors and brightness those panels can produce up against MLA panels, and now the 4-stack OLED panels from LG and Panasonic. They're all getting more vibrant colors and brighter colors with better HDR performance year after year. Now, are you going to notice the difference between these models 1 year apart? Sometimes, like with the LG G4 and G5, but more times than not, it probably takes more than that to see big improvements, at least improvements worth spending money on to upgrade. But then there's Mini LED, and from a technological standpoint there, the race is on to get closer to OLED. They're all looking better and better with deeper blacks and creative ways to get better colors. This year, we covered the RGB Mini LED backlight technology coming from Sony and Hisense. And because OLED TVs, and certainly OLED TV prices, aren't for everyone, there's still a need for Mini LED TVs, and as consumers, we win when there's competition to keep improving them. And then there's convenience. And what I mean by this is some of the things that we don't think about often. A few examples that come to mind first are Samsung's One Connect box, their Frame and Frame Pro series, and LG's OLED M series and its Zero Connect box. These are all features that don't necessarily contribute directly to sound and picture quality, but they do make the process of getting that sound and picture quality easier. The One Connect box from Samsung that comes with their flagship OLED and Frame series TVs allows more flexibility when connecting external devices. The Frame Pro takes it to another level with the One Connect wireless system that sends a wireless signal to the TV. Similarly, LG's OLED M series does that as well, sending a beautiful picture wirelessly to their top-tier OLED panels. These are great examples of combining high-end picture technology with convenience for users that want a great viewing experience with a cleaner setup. These are things that years ago weren't really around. For audio, not everyone has a room or the furniture to support a soundbar or multiple speakers in their setup. So we now have things like the Sony BRAVIA Theater Quad. The look may not be for everyone, but the functionality makes achieving great surround sound a lot simpler. The point is, while yes, we're spoiled with incredible home theater quality all around us, there's still room to innovate, think outside the box, and take the high quality we have in traditional setups and just package it differently as the world around us and our needs change. And with that, I'm out. Thanks for the questions, especially that last one. I'd be curious to know what everyone thinks. Are we nearing a peak in terms of theater tech? Let us know in the comments. Drop a like and subscribe if you found this helpful, and we'll see you next time.